Welcome back to Horntie Studios. I'm here doing another episode of 666 Seconds of Murder. That means each episode is less than 666 seconds, which, as you know, is 11 minutes and 6 seconds. So, want to get started. Time is of the essence, so let's get to it. Talking some more Idaho 4 with you. I know you guys are very interested in this case, just like I am. So, wanted to talk about something that you hear quite a bit about whenever you go to look at what the creators out there are saying about this case. And the question is basically, what is up with Moscow PD? I mean, seriously, some very questionable things. And even this picture, you know, that suspicious look, like side-eye thing going on, it just makes me just think that there's just some underlying nonsense going on here, and I don't really know. Now, law enforcement can be an easy target. They have a very, very difficult job to do. And as you guys know, I am the furthest thing from anti-police. My father was a parole officer for over 20 years, and I've got very close friends that currently work in the field. So I am not anti-law enforcement. I'm just bringing up some things that I've heard a lot about, read about, watched different documentaries about, and I thought it was worth having the conversation. So I think it's perfectly normal to question the people that are investigating crimes, especially something of this magnitude. I mean, this is a huge international case. I'm only asking questions and trying to spark some debate. I'm not saying that any of the officers involved or the detectives there in Moscow are doing a bad job or doing anything wrong. I'm just questioning some things that I've observed, and I'm, here in the Midwest, so I'm not in the area. Now, the prosecutor, Bill Thompson, is an arm of law enforcement, so keep that in mind. And the fact that they put a gag order on this case seems somewhat strange to me. So normally when they're doing that, it's to protect somebody or to, keep the case, close-knit. If they've got their man, then I don't understand why there's still a gag order. I'm just not understanding it. And if it's to protect people, who exactly are they protecting? Is it Dylan and Bethany or, some other informant that may have told them about Brian? I mean, who knows? Maybe it's the university that is, they're protecting them. They want this thing to be put to bed. They don't want to be on the front page of every newspaper across the country when parents are thinking about where they're going to spend their hard-earned dollars sending their kids to college. So it makes sense. Now, we all know the crime scene was compromised by the friends that Dylan and Bethany called to the house that morning. But we don't know how much it was disturbed. We don't know how many people there were there. We don't know what time they got there. We don't know what they were doing when they got there. Again, these are all huge questions with this case. And we all know that there were suspects early on that were ruled out very quickly, like within a couple of days, which seems very fast to me, to thoroughly make sure that these people were not involved. And I realize, this is a small police department. I know they had the FBI helping them and are probably still helping, but they were the ones there first on the scene. So they were there in the very critical stages of making sure that you got everybody you need to get, pull them in, talk to them, DNA, all that. So just don't know exactly what they were doing. It's been very hush-hush. Now, maybe there were no legal grounds to keep people from leaving the area, but I thought it was very strange, and maybe it's just me, but there were a lot of people like leaving the country. Africa, somebody's in Spain, other states and stuff like that. I just don't understand why they weren't able to at least until they were thoroughly cleared, keep them there. In a case of this magnitude, Jack DeCour, Jack Showalter, these are some people that just seem to be like gone very quickly. And you just wonder how exactly that happened. Does the police department there in Moscow bow down to the mighty University of Idaho? I mean, I've addressed that in a couple of my videos so far. If the university falls, the town will fall with it. So they're getting a lot of pressure from above, I'm sure, especially with some of the people I mentioned from some wealthy families. University is not going to want to have people with some money getting pissed off that, the police are questioning their kid for a couple days. So, and a lot of them are lawyered up, and I get that. And that's part of this as well. Now, the knife sheath that was left behind is definitely puzzling to a lot of us. Was a K-bar knife actually used? I have my suspicions that maybe it's not. It's really not a knife for what it was used for in this case, if it was used. Typically, K-bar knives are used, of course, by the Marines, but, like outdoorsmen, people that like to fish and hunt and hacking brush with it. I mean, that's what it's really for. So not really an instrument to do this, and it would dull, if you're doing what you're doing. I mean, I had heard Kaylee absorbed 57 wounds. I mean, that's going to dull a blade. So you would have had to have several of these or several knives to be able to do what was done to 4 different people, if it was one person. Okay. But it just doesn't seem like the right weapon for this. I saw a really good documentary or video on the To The Point channel that was really good on the subject of the K-bar knife. And I'm not sure if you guys saw Annie Elise on that 10 to Life channel, but she talked about having a close contact in the FBI. I was kind of surprised she was reading this stuff on her show, but she was talking about that the sheath was found next to Ethan. And of course, they were saying it was found under or partially under Maddie. So not really sure there. It's also possible that somebody planted it. I'm not saying the police did. I mean, it could have been somebody involved with the crime that wanted to leave something behind. But how they would know his touch DNA was on that, button, or was that an accident? We just don't know. Could somebody have been trying to frame Sigma Chi because it was known that they had those knives over there in those pictures we've all seen on the internet? So a lot of questions of how that sheath might have ended up there. So was the Moscow PD just so inexperienced that they really couldn't handle something like this? Were they able to get the FBI in there quick enough to where, few or little mistakes were made? Don't know. They seem a little shifty in the press conferences, but that could be from just being nervous because they're not used to doing press conferences for the world. It is a small town police force, and I have to respect that. Again, I know they have a difficult job, but in a town like this, a college town, they're dealing with a lot of drunk college kids. They're not dealing with quadruple, incidents like this. The fact that they gave out some bad information with that Elantra was definitely suspicious. Not really sure what the reasoning was there, if it was an accident or if it was intentional. I seem to think it was the latter. Why did they allow Brian to leave the area and drive all the way across the country? Some people have questioned, why didn't you pull him in for 48 hours, do the DNA? Then you would have had his DNA. You wouldn't have had to dig through garbage and all that nonsense that went on in Pennsylvania. So, and was the fact that the largest drug bust in the state of Idaho taking place a month after this have anything to do with it? It seems very strange of all the different stuff going on. So I wonder if it did. Were there informants involved in both of those cases? and that's why this gag order's in place? I don't know. But I'd love to hear what you guys think. So comment below and let me know your thoughts, because you guys always have some really good suggestions and ideas. I appreciate you guys checking out the channel, and we'll see you next time.